Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, right here in beautiful Fullerton, California. Oh, I'll mute the microphone. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Please join me in stating our purpose statement. We are a loving spiritual community, empowering all to live healthy and successful lives through practicing the principles of science of mind. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today in person and also online. I have a few announcements before we get started. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Did you know that? Yes. Yeah. And we do have Reverend Bill back. Yay! And today we're voting on our slogan for 2023, and we are doing it a little differently this year. We have a little voting sheet and pick 3 of your top favorites and just drop it in the basket right at the usher's table back there. And then we'll be announcing next Sunday. Next Sunday we'll know our slogan. And today is our first workshop of spiritual economics. And also Reverend Bill is teaching it, and it's going to be wonderful. And it's open to everybody, all levels, and it is given by love donation. It's going to last about maybe hour and a half, something like that. So please join us if you can. It's going to be great. And calling all voting members, our annual membership meeting and potluck is next Sunday. This is a meeting to discuss the business of the center, and we need as many voting members as possible here. And if you have a question regarding your status, please come see me today, or next Sunday I'll have a signing book so you can see exactly if you are eligible to vote or not. And Exploring the Roots of Science of Mind class on Wednesday evening is starting on the 25th. And the details are in the program. And if you're eligible to take that class, please join us. It's a wonderful, wonderful class, and Reverend Bill is teaching it as well. And midweek guided meditation on Wednesday evenings back on the 25th. So please join us for that at 6 p.m. Let's see, so many things here. And would you like to take your spiritual practices to a deeper level? Join our workshops, classes, and meditation sessions. We're always gathering. We're looking to gather little groups, study groups, support groups, and of course our regular classes and workshops. And if you need a prayer for clarity of your path, please see a practitioner. We have beautiful practitioners here. Last thing, you can sponsor our coffee fellowship by donating $25. And your name will be in print in the program. And today's coffee fellowship is supported by Amanda Secola. Yay. Thank you, Amanda. And that's it for me. All right, thank you.
Time for our invocation. So first of all, I'd like to give thanks for all the rain that we're having. It certainly bails us out of a drought. And I give thanks to each and every one who is here in person and who listens online. And I give thanks to all who are members of this center. I give thanks to Susie Rogers for preparing the food every Sunday, except when she's in Virginia. I give thanks also to Susie and the Board of Trustees and to Moko for all that she does, and for the trustees for guiding us financially. I give thanks to Richard for his beautiful music, for standing in for Tommy so often. I give thanks to all the teachers in the youth center and the children who attend. I give thanks to my fellow practitioners for all the beautiful prayer work that they do and for their demonstrations. I give thanks for Reverend Dr. Bill, our spiritual leader, and for the talk that he's about to give. I give thanks for its inspiration, its clarity, and its explanations of the thing itself, the way it works, and what we can do with it. So for all of this good I give thanks, and I let these words go, I let them be. Together we say, and so it is.
I need to be still and let God love me. I need to be still and let God love me. When this old world starts to push and shove me, I need to be still and let God love me.
So today's reading comes from 365 Days of Richer Living, and this one is from December 30th, and the title of it is, I Determine My Own Demonstrations. And underneath is, for as he thinketh in his heart, so let it be. Proverbs 23, chapter 7, I think it is. Never did understand that. So, the Lord God omnipotent created me as a free and full expression of itself. I have the freedom of the mind which brought me forth to express its ideas. I choose and divine law produces. There is no power to hinder me and no law to refuse me. All of life is mine to use for good, and this I do. Backed up by omnipotence, I determine my own results. I have no one to blame for my mistakes, not even myself. I refuse to believe that the world acts upon me, for I know that I act upon the world. My thinking is my environment, and God is my heredity. I alibi no longer. I face the facts of my own conclusions, and I am determined to demonstrate what I want. Today I have unlimited health. His life in me guarantees this. As I praise life, health, strength, and vitality, they arise within me and give of themselves through me. I shall not be tired at the end of this day, for I am constantly renewed by inner power. His mind as me is the source of my health, and this mind never ceases thinking rightly about me. It never is defeated by my fears and confusions. It forever acts, and now I let its action be my health and my vitality. Strong in the Lord, I accomplish without strain. All things are easy, all work is a pleasure. I rejoice in my God-given health. I rejoice in the power and the strength that are mine. And then there's this following prayer. Today I have peace of mind. It matters not what others believe, not what others do. I know him who created me, and I abide in his love. I refuse to let the material thinking of others influence me. I am not dependent upon the world. The world is dependent upon me. The contagion of evil will find no welcome in my consciousness. There is nothing in me to agree with it. Therefore, I cannot experience its falsities. I know a divine plan, a divine purpose, and a divine law of action. This is my all-sufficiency. My peace comes from the knowledge of God as the source of my life and my deliverance. My demonstration is because I know so deeply that it must be. I give thanks that this is so.
everything must change. Nothing stays the same. Everyone must change. Nothing stays the same. The young become the old. Mysteries do unfold, 'cause that's the way of time. Nothing and no one goes unchanged. There are not many things in life you can be sure, except rain comes from the clouds, sun lights up the sky, and hummingbirds do fly. Winter turns to spring, a wounded heart will heal, but never much too soon. Everything must change. The young become the old. Mysteries do unfold, 'cause that's the way of time. Nothing and no one goes unchanged. There are not many things in life you can be sure, except rain comes from the clouds, sun lights up the sky, hummingbirds do fly. Rain comes from the clouds, sun lights up the sky, hummingbirds do fly.
Ladies and gentlemen, wow. Thank you for what do I want to say? Oh, happy Martin Luther King Day. And this marks the start of the 64 days of Season of Nonviolence that span from Gandhi's assassination on the 30th of January until Martin Luther King in April, I think the middle of the month, 14, something like that. And this whole entire season is dedicated to those people who show us and have shown us and have proved and lived the lives of peace. So we've just come out of the season of peace on earth, but now we want to extend it because we want to follow in the footsteps of those who have come before. And we're in pretty good company. If you consider, I don't know, Jesus of Nazareth, and you consider St. Francis of Assisi, St. Catherine, St. Teresa. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Mahavatar Babaji. It's not just related, it's not just Christian stuff. It's the saints and the sages of all religions, all philosophies, all teachings that have held the same truth to be undeniable, to be axiomatic. And then, of course, we ask the question, what has violence ever cured? What has it ever changed for the better? And the answer, of course, is it never has. And I don't know, we can make up these weak excuses about, oh yeah, well, we we righted this wrong. We fixed this bad. No, we didn't. All we did was replace it with a different one. So if you're on the side that's doing the replacing, you're thinking we're doing pretty good. If you're on the other side, probably thinking not so much. But the fact is, it's the nonviolence that brings about real and lasting change, and change that we can take with us forever. So last Sunday, Michael Whitney was here, of course, he and Tommy, and they gave us that wonderful song, A New Day Dawning. Do you remember that? A new day dawning. He says, it's coming in peace. Remember the lyrics? It's coming in joy. It's coming in love. We should sing that song every Sunday. We should sing it every day. Because when we are singing it and saying it, when that thought is in our minds, that's when it can be. Because that's the now moment. If every now moment was filled with coming in peace, coming in joy, coming in love, what else would there be to talk about? We'd have it all pretty much under control. And so right now, Reverend John started us off last week, of course, because right now we're doing the 4 basics of science of mind, 4 weeks. He started us off with the thing itself. Doesn't that just have kind of a peculiar ring to it? The thing itself. What do you talk about in church? We talk about the thing itself. But the fact is, we do talk about the thing itself. And we talk about it because we have to forget the pronouns. Right? We have so many sages and saints and teachers in the past that have talked to us about trust in Him, or Mother God. So we got Mother God, Father God, Brother God, Sister God. We got them all. And it doesn't make any difference what pronouns we use, does it? The fact of the matter is, as Reverend John told us last week, we're talking about that thing itself. So, just to kind of reiterate a little bit, that thing that we're talking about is that source, that power, that presence, the one and only. We're not the one and only, but the one, because we have other powers. You know, we talk about scientific laws, don't we? There are laws of this universe, and those scientific laws are brought about from that one power that brings about everything else, because those laws are spiritual also. There's no difference between the laws of science and the laws of spirit. They're subsets of a law of that one power and that one presence that brings everything to us and controls everything so nicely if we just allow it to. I shouldn't say that. It controls everything nicely whether we allow it or not. The difference is our reception of it, is the benefit that we get from it when we're in the flow and not fighting against it. So, we talked about that, and we call that God or Spirit or the life principle or the thing itself. So, we can't see this principle, but then we can't see any principles. The fact that we can't see gravity doesn't stop us from using it. The fact that we can't see electricity doesn't stop us from using it. The fact that we can't see those aeronautical rules that allow us to take planes up in the air and travel thousands of miles, we can't see that, but we can see the results of it. And it's the same as with the spiritual law. So for the person who says, well, I'm from Missouri, you got to show me. No, I don't have to show you. You have to show yourself. Look around. So just because you can't see it doesn't mean it isn't so. If you can't see the effects of it, blind and deaf you are indeed. Because we can see and hear the effects of that spiritual law every second of every day, of all time that ever goes by. There's never when we can't see the effect of it. I marvel in the idea, that we talk about the life principle. At least I talk about the life principle. I kind of like that term. So we talk about the life principle, and yet, even though that life principle has given us all the rules of science and all the physical laws that we can see the results of and that we can actually control and use to better our everyday, to better our world, nobody can point to this thing called life. I love that. We can answer so many questions, and the further and the further and the further we get along in science, the more it brings us to this unescapable fact that everything is not only one, that there is no vacuum, there is no space, that it's all connected, that there's this substance of God, this substance of that life principle everywhere. We're like fish swimming in water. It's us swimming in this spiritual substance. And yet nobody can define what life is. But it doesn't need definition. That's one of those unseeable principles. We can't deny that life is. We just can't explain it. Oh, we could make up some explanations, I guess, but they wouldn't do well by me, I don't think. And the big thing about the thing itself, of course, and the principles that it comes from is that everybody can use these principles. Anybody can use them. You don't have to be a PhD in physics. They don't know any more about life than we do. You don't have to be a master tradesman. You don't have to be a minister, a teacher. You don't have to be any of these things to use the principles. The least sophisticated person in the world can use this spiritual principle. And I dare say they have, and quite nicely. So we're going to be talking today, because everybody can use it, and we know about the thing itself. Now we know that it is that power and that presence that brings everything to bear on this thing we call life. And today we're going to be talking about the way it works. It doesn't do much good to have a principle if we don't know the way it works. And later on, the next couple of Sundays, we're going to be talking about what it does and how to use it. This big old giant thick book, this Science of Mind, these first 4 chapters, I don't know, they're like 4 or 5 pages apiece. So what's that? Times 4. 16, 20 pages out of, I don't know, last page number I see here is 665. And the rest of these pages, after those first 16 or 20, the rest of these are like a footnote to this. An elegant footnote, I might say. Ernest Holmes had a way with words, and he was, quite a speaker. But the fact of the matter is, once we understand that there is this life principle that we call spirit or God or life or whatever, and then we understand how it works, what it does, and how to use it, the rest is just window dressing. Well, it's not window dressing. The rest is to bolster us up, and the rest is to open this book to any page, any time, or any of the books, if any of the master teachers read a paragraph, or read a page, or read a dozen, or read 100 of them, but it's all about getting us back into that state of consciousness, that state of conscious awareness, which when we're living in, makes the world ours. Makes it this glorious place. Anyway, so what I suppose we should find out Ernest Holmes had to say about this beyond the beginning, okay? Well, let me start. What he says about the way it works is this. The science of mind is not a special revelation of any individual. It is rather the culmination of all revelations. And it is. And that's why I said earlier, we can talk about the saints and sages from every religion, every philosophy, every teaching, and the gospel, if you will, the good news about life and our connection to it is in each and every one of them. So it's not a revelation for just one person. Oh, we're going to talk about some of those who had a little bit more enforced revelation. He also said, when he was talking about everything being made, because that's part and parcel of this, everything ever in existence is made from that one substance. Because there is this principle, there is God, and plus nothing else. So everything that we discover, everything that we invent or create or find or have a eureka moment about is all done within this life principle. It's all done within spirit. It's all done within that consciousness, that divine mind that is God. And he talks about this. He says, we now know that this is what we are. We are beings living within this consciousness. And really, just because we have skin and bones, some of it's soft, but some of it's pretty hard. Even though we have these outer shells, there really is no place where the consciousness of God ends and our own consciousness begins. Because it's not our own consciousness, it's just our individualized use of that one consciousness. And the more that we can get attuned to that, the more we can become aware of that, the greater life is for us. The master teacher Jesus was so in tune with this, saw so clearly into this thing that we call life, Mother Nature, Spirit, saw so clearly that there was no boundary. There was no place where Jesus ended and God began. There's no place where we end and God begins. Even when we're gone from here, that will still hold true. But we do not know how much of this we are. So we can learn that we are this, that we are individualizations of the one mind, of the one consciousness. But until we understand how much of it we are, and that's the difference, because the cynic asks, oh, well, you believe that stuff? Why don't you raise the dead then? Jesus did. Why don't I raise the dead? I don't raise the dead because, like everybody else, I have no idea really about the amount of how much of this divine inspiration we really are. And the closer people get to understanding and accepting the fact that it's all of them, the closer they get to being able to do that sort of thing. Oh, welcome to the celebration. So, the way it works, week 2. We have to begin by understanding that spirit, let's have a little spiritual math. Spirit is not about addition. Because, sometimes you get this thought, well, if only I was more of this, I would be more spiritual. If only I had more of this, I could take a little bit closer walk with God. If only I had. Erase. It's not about adding anything at all. What it's about is subtraction. It's about getting rid of, subtracting, things like consciousness of lack. Is subtracting or limiting thoughts of any type, or thoughts of poverty, thoughts of not enoughness, thoughts of less than. Subtracting all of those thoughts, because once we subtract those, what's left, instead of like our victim consciousness, what's left is the understanding that we are that much closer to how we were when we arrived in this life. And until we got conditioned with all those possibilities, of lack and limitation, we had no idea. The way it works is we have to get rid of those. We have to take ourselves back to basics. And sometimes that includes loss. Sometimes that includes having to say goodbye to those things that do not serve us in our quest for conscious awareness of our relationship to this one God, this one mind, this one spirit, this life principle. And sometimes, let's be honest, sometimes that can leave us in a pretty lonely place. That can make things look a little bit dark. Nobody ever said it was going to be all long, sunshine, roses, lollipops like that. It isn't. Our task is not to be in that all the time. Our task is to always come back to that when something takes us away from it in the first place. Because that darkness that we feel when we lose, because we are human, we're going to lose things in this life, including this life. But we can't let that darkness define us, because that darkness is not a darkness of hopelessness. It's a primordial dark. It's taking us back to that base that we were before we got all wrapped up in the world. Because from that primordial base that we were, we grew spontaneously into this loving, joyful, appreciative baby soul that we were. Well, not baby soul, we had the same soul, but we came in the form of that baby person to do that. So when we want to think about our place and how to make this thing work, we have to rediscover the God that we were born as. The God that born us as the only possible thing to be born as. It's children of God, children of that life principle, children of that one power and that one presence. No more or less so than every other being we're ever going to meet. And that, of course, is why this season of nonviolence that we start right now can be effective. Because when we understand that there is no calling in the world that should be causing us to give grief, to give violence to somebody else, because they are exactly like we are. They are exactly equal in divinity as we are. You know, we're going to be talking about Eric Butterworth a little bit later, but Eric Butterworth had this to say. And he said it about Jesus, and he just said it way better than I do. He says, Jesus did not set the Christ standard. Because we say, oh, why can't we be like that? We can be like that. He did not set the standard. He simply followed it. He knew it. He embodied it. He believed it. He had faith in it, and he followed it, and look what it did for him. The Christ standard is not a series of hard and fast rules for behavior, not simply an analysis of what Jesus did for men to see. It's a principle that he revealed through his discovery of the divinity in man. The problem is, the great mistake that we make is that we think, what do we say? We're only human. We're only human. And you know what? Unless and until we get rid of that mentality that we're only human, things will not be as they should for us. We will not reach our highest potential. We will not come to live our highest and best life. Because we are not only human. It's that divinity in us that gives us the ability to see beyond the things that we do as humans and understand and get into that place where that saying comes from, where Jesus said, I'm not of this world. I'm in this world, but not of this world. And of course, isn't that where we all want to be? We want to be in this world living these wonderful lives, but we need to understand that there's so much more than that. There's so much more available to us. And that's why, of course, he said, it is done unto you as you believe. John O'Donohue, the author of Anam Cara, said once that deep within us, within every life, there is something eternal going on. And that's a lot like Charles Fillmore when he said within each person there's a church service going on. There is. We can either attend it or not. And we can we can see that there's something eternal going on within us. And again, just because we can't see this life principle, we can't see this eternal thing that's happening in us, we get to see the results of it. In Florence Scovel Shinn's book, Your Word is Your Wand. So if somebody tells you you don't have, what do you want to do, wave a magic wand? Well, yeah, thank you very much. That's exactly what I want to do. I want to wave that magic wand. My magic wand is that gift of God, that grace that came with me, that divinity that is within me, that eternal something that's within me, that's never going to die, that's never going to go away, that try as I may, I'm never going to be able to completely obscure it. Because even our worst moments, and I'm not talking worst moments of something happening to us, I'm talking about our worst moments of being when we say, oh, God, did I really think that? Did I really do that? Even within those worst moments, we still get the road to salvation, being understanding that spark of divinity is within me. And even though I might do things, well, not might, even though every once in a while I'm going to do something that makes me question my own divinity, I have that to fall back on, but I can just reach down and grab it. I can go inside and I can say, here's that eternal something that is powering me. And then I can go on from there. Anyway, where was it? Florence Scovel Shinn said, nothing is too good to be true. Okay, when we get rid of all of these things, these thoughts of lack and limitation, nothing is too good to be true. Nothing is too wonderful to happen, and nothing is too good to last. Because aren't those things that we say, oh yeah, it's just not, yes it is. Yes it is. It is possible. We just have to keep in mind another thing she said, there is no there, there's only here. And this is the only place we can start from to live the life of our divinity. To live in a world that nothing is too good to be true. Nothing is too wonderful to happen. So the way it works is, once we understand this concept of this thing that is, and once we understand that, like it or not, understand it or not, It is part and parcel of who we are. It is in fact the essence of who we are. And once we get our awareness into that cosmic realm, where we can do something with it, we know it's here. We know we have that power. We know that presence is within us. All we have to do now is use it. All we have to do now is understand that we, as well as the greatest saint or sage who ever walked the planet, we have that within us, and we have the ability to use it. All we have to do is get ourselves out of the way, come in touch with it, and teach ourselves to understand at all times that it's always right here and it is right now, and we simply have to direct it. And we'll talk about how we're going to do that as the next couple of weeks go on. But for right now, let's just know this. Let's just know that there is this one power, this one presence, this one beingness that completely surrounds and fills our every being. There is nothing in existence that did not come from this. There is nothing in this existence that will not change, because the laws of physics make things change. Everything is going to change, but nothing will change and end up outside of this consciousness, because it is this consciousness that we call the God, that we call Spirit, within which we live and move and have our being, that directs us and allows us to direct ourselves and the world itself in the direction that we want it to go. Knowing this is the case, it's just with grateful heart that I say, thank you, God. Thank you for this. Thank you for this capability, and thank you for the knowledge of this. Thank you for continuing to direct me in a way that leads to my highest and best good. And I just let this word go on, knowing for each of us that this is the case. I let it go into that law that knows only to say yes, yes to me. I just let it go, I let it be. Together we say, so it is. This is our time to shine our light, to share our abundance. We know that all of our good comes from that one source, God, and for this we are grateful. Thank you for your continued financial support, as well as emotional and loving, heartfelt support, because it's that financial support that keeps us going. And for those who are not in attendance, but watch this on video and continue to hit that donate button on the website and send in their tithes, thank you. So let's just know that we bless these gifts, these tithes, these offerings, knowing they are given from the central core of who we are, which is God made manifest on this plane. We send them forth to do their good work in this community and in the world at large, with no strings and no conditions, and so it is.
Whenever I feel afraid, I hold my head erect and whistle a happy tune, so no one will suspect I'm afraid. While shivering in my shoes, I strike a careless pose and whistle a happy tune, and no one ever knows I'm afraid. The result of this deception is very strange to tell, but when I fool the people I fear, I fool myself as well. I whistle a happy tune, and every single time the happiness in the tune convinces me that I'm not afraid. Make believe you're brave, and the trick will take you far. You may be as brave as you make believe you are. You may be as brave as you make believe you are. You are as you make believe you
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Let's just have everybody get on their feet. And let's know this together. Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
It's the thing itself.
It's the thing itself.
And the way it works.
And the way it works.
I like it.
I like it.
I accept it.
I accept it.
And I am grateful